Hello, my lovely, inspiring human potential community. In this universal love energy transmission session, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to feel into readiness. Readiness to take a leap of faith, readiness to take a leap of faith into the unknown, to perhaps feel ready as you sit in an abyss of scariness. That would be immense depth of feeling. So to feel ready, this sense of safety that we can gain from our ventral vagal state. I've been seeing a couple videos that I have yet to watch of how to work with our nervous system. And it's by the same lady that I mentioned in our other session, where she works with the ventral vagal state and is sharing with practitioners how to help others do the same. And when I say work, it's really, again, practicing to be in tune with your body, but more than just that, understanding that our nervous system is always at place. And so the ventral state is our sense of ease state, and we can be in those states. And so feeling of readiness, in this case, to be able and allow yourself the awareness of the charged states. So we'll still clear those emotional, mental, which would be anxiety or fear or anger, frustration, any number of feelings that come and that don't get you to move forward, but that keep you stuck in your head, like rethinking a conversation, for example, that you want to have, or rethinking getting ready for a presentation. And personally, I'm somebody who, for example, definitely gets hyper while preparing for any type of presentation. I still remember in college my speaking course, and that was fascinating, by the way. I'll share this because I remember getting up there and feeling like my voice was trembling and I was very hot, and the different types of temperature within the body. And when we would get feedback, because our professor wanted us to give each other feedback, it's a speaking class, nobody could tell. My voice was calm, firm. Nobody could tell. And so that was the day I remember I was like, okay, so it's only inside. Now, funny thing is, the psychiatrists, neuroscientists that I keep learning so many amazing things from have shared in the past couple days in my class on conflict avoidance. So for anybody who's thinking you may be somebody who has situation of uneasiness with any type of interaction face to face, because conflict doesn't have to be a conflict per se. It's speaking up for yourself. So you're not alone. Every human being, and yes, these psychiatrists are from the Western world, so obviously they're in this culture, but even when I'm watching Sadhguru videos and other individuals from that other part of the world, and so with a mix of holistic and spiritual, because they embrace more of the whole versus the Western's a bit more analytical, right? But when I bring the two together, they're still talking the same language, and they're talking how humans have fear. Humans have fear, and it's because of an unpreparedness. It's not a good or bad thing. The part about being unaware of your inner body. And that's where spirituality is beautiful, but it doesn't give you the technical components, which doesn't help people to disengage from the narratives that keep you blocked in your own mind. Your mind is not a tool that is a negative. And even though here this reminds me of a Sadhguru quote at one point that I watched. It was one of his first videos where he said your mind can be, it's like a sharp knife, but it can be sharp where it cuts you, or it can be sharp where it's smart. And the same psychiatrists that are talking about conflict avoidance, one of them stated as an exercise, write a journal of judgment and watch just how much your inner voice is your worst enemy. There are many people that I talk to, and it is fascinating just how much judgment they hold for themselves. And even though I understand at this point with the, again, trauma experts, just how much a person can be stuck in their cycle of shame due to a household, for example, that is not safe, and really a household that doesn't share with you how to be true self-worth, which is where you don't have to be achievement-based. And this is another one of the comments that the same practitioners make. Unfortunately, the Western world teaches achievement-based worth, not self-worth. Self-worth means even if you are the worst of the worst and do nothing, you're a parasite. This is one of those sentences, a parasite of society. Even if you are that, self-worth means acknowledging in your own heart that you have a right to be here. It's a feeling of I'm worthy to be alive, versus the inner critic, which again a majority of people have. And this is connected to our mammalian heritage. We have an attachment defensive state. We would get kicked out of a tribe, it would mean death. Your body still holds that memory. But there are many stories that came about in the years after that state, and it begins with the Odyssey and a bunch of other battle format. I mean, still to this day, people treat their life as if it's this journey of a battle. Today we're going to read the entire Shamans Dream Oracle description, and it's not to pinpoint any type of one person's way or another. This is where I'm actually trying to support my community to differentiate within their own thought process, to get away from this battle. Your life is your life. You can participate, or you're going to be a spectator of it, which really isn't empowering. So as always, I like to begin these sessions before we get into the meditative part and exercise with some information, because for as much as I was trying to get them to be shorter, here's the part. Not enough people know about their body. So the other thing that the psychiatrists, neuroscientists were making clear again, and this I love every time this one doctor, his name's Chris something, he's studying the neuroscience, neurobiology, and they were talking about when we say name your emotions. So one, many people don't know their own emotions. They didn't get to explore them in the house. Two, before I forget, if you're in a household where you are not allowed to be your own self, which a good portion of households will, it's not about not reprimanding and ensuring your child doesn't get in danger. It's actually, the more dangerous things, of course, you're going to yell at them and then you reassure them. But there are moments where a child has been and will be told not to do something for the pure fact that the person thinks they should not be expressing that. And that is going to be stored as I can't do this. But putting that to the side, because it's obviously very vague and not part of this session, the body is what I want you to remember learns. So the child's body is learning how to ensure the person that they're in household with doesn't get angry at them, doesn't get upset at them. They're an infant. They don't know when you're yelling what else to get out of that. So this is where the psychiatrists were describing how a person can become conflict avoidant because they learn how to ensure that they behave in a way that the people in home don't get angry with them. And I've seen more than just one person from a very unconditionally loving household be in this state. So conflict avoidant, a good portion of people do not know and have not learned how to work with conflict because we've all been children and we've all gotten yelled at. And so for as much as it's a blanket statement, think about how much uneasiness, if you have to have a face-to-face, can come. Personally, I have a very loud household, so I was permitted to be loud and expressive. I thank you for being a Neapolitan family, because here's where we can yell at each other and nobody's taking offense. It's just us expressing our passion. And so that was something that my body didn't have to learn, to be afraid of yelling or getting angry, or if somebody's yelling or angry at me. The awareness of your own body is up to you. So here the other doctor that I was mentioning, Chris, was talking about how the science finds that before we even have the emotion and thought, we have sensations, because your nervous system is the first to begin interacting. That's that state of it's perceiving life already. So sensations, then the emotion, then the thought. And what he was saying was in the MRIs, it shows when we name the feeling. So they've been showing people, flashes, those flashcards. Okay, what feeling is this bringing up, or something like that? So sadness, anger, frustration, all these different types of feelings, that the blood goes to the amygdala, because obviously that's where the emotion is expressed. You get the threat center, the amygdala, but then it releases in our limbic system. And as they name it, though, it moves the blood to the prefrontal cortex. And this is your executive decision maker. This is where you're not reacting. So here, people talk about in the spirituality community, ego death. They talk about the dark night of the soul, and people think that they're needing to get rid of parts of them versus realizing what you're really doing is facing a very deep emotion, and instead of going down for those who pursue the actual 5D growth, because some will stay in certain narratives that are not unconditionally loving and neutral. So when we use 5D, that state of consciousness, it's unconditional love and neutrality, not anything else. It's you as a functional adult. So people who go through a situation that is that deep and come out of it, it's not because you don't have an ego anymore. We all will still have an ego self. It's in your brain. It's regulated. So it just depends who you go to and how you talk about your life. So again, breaking it down this way for me is important because I want you to have a relationship with your body, heart, and mind. You're the human that's living your life. And all of the pieces of information out there, whether they be spiritual or psychoeducational, empower you. So the nervous system, it works in a certain way, and it's at the core of everything you do. This ventral state is what you get to acquire as we work through today, and as all of the sessions are meant to help you ease into being in a neutral state, in this ventral state, which is a social engagement state. It means you're balanced. It means you can feel that you can speak up for yourself. It's everything from the sensations, though. But obviously, we're not only the sensation, because even if the sensation is the first to come up, you really are almost immediately flooded by the emotion and the thought, especially now as a grown-up. As an infant and a child, you only have the sensations, and then the people tell you they teach you how to maybe express it or maybe how to hold it back and repress it. The other part, this other doctor that was talking about, again, conflict avoidance, said all the people that he's seen, they don't actually get taught about emotions, how to describe them, feel them, like these elements that to me personally are odd because I've always been personally aware of my emotions and feelings. But again, maybe it's my Italian heritage because we're very passionate, loving, we talk about emotions. There's not any type of reserve or embarrassment about emotions in general. It's part of the Neapolitan character trait to be very much passionate, so that might be what it is. And when these psychiatrists are describing these types of households, I just feel so want to reach out to more people and let them know they're not alone. So you're not alone in having uneasiness with face-to-face confront any type. It's something actually very much a standard. And so this doctor was saying it's the therapist's job to help them learn how to work through the emotions. Not everybody goes to therapist. And so it's always in my hopes, again, that you guys tuning in, share these pieces of information with your loved ones, share these pieces of information with your friends, help them know that you are not always aware of your emotions because you didn't have that time to talk about it with anybody, and really it's a habit. I still remember I've had people say to me, like, I don't know what I'm feeling. It's not, I don't know this feeling. I don't know that feeling. And I think, how do you not, know this or that? It's a feeling. It's in your body. But again, these psychiatrists, they give examples of 40, 50-year-old people going into their office. And one visual was of a woman who, in a very specific way in their own household, didn't speak of emotions. So they adapted to ensure not getting that parent upset and those parents upset. And so when asked by their own therapist, what do you feel? The therapist's description was, it was like a teenager with a hoodie saying, I don't know. And I could visualize people that have given me the same responses. And I think it's like, okay, we just need to allow people to understand that emotions are, and not understand because we don't understand, but create conversation is what I should say. Create conversation for those emotions so that a person can allow themselves to feel into it. That's why I wanted to feel into readiness, but also all of the other stuff, because feel readiness means you don't feel ready. And so to know that you're not alone in not feeling ready, and that conflict, so any type of face-to-face, any type of leap of faith is always going to be uneasy, meaning you're going to want to get prepared. So there's going to be these two things going on, and only you can work with your own body. And that's why only you can breathe, the rhythmic breathing. This is what helps our nervous system to actually calm down, but you're not only the nervous system, are you? You have a whole neural network that you're used to using. So this one doctor, by the way, he was saying how he uses hypnosis therapy on his patients to help them focus, one, on the outside, not on the inside when they get emotional. And really it's about getting nervous. And he supports them to realize that all behavior has message value. And what this means is he's saying, okay, so let's say somebody writes you or texts you and you don't get back to them in a certain timely fashion. What are you telling this person? That you don't care about them, right? Or that you have better things to do. The behavior, every behavior has message value. Or let's say you don't help somebody that needs help. What is this behavior telling them through you? So to create a relationship of message value in your behavior. So how you respond to these responses. For example, somebody not telling somebody, leave me alone, directly. Like to explain it. You can always explain it. People get emotional because they haven't had practice. So we're still adaptive children because our emotions are still the infancy of them with the nervousness. Learning to calm ourselves, to self-soothe. This is that self-regulation, which is why when you're naming the emotion to yourself, not to others, it begins with you. You're going to start gaining familiarity. Knowing about the body helps you know it's something physical. So there's a whole way behind it. Breathing rhythmically, 5 seconds inhaling, 6 seconds exhaling. You can also go and look up, there's plenty of videos. There's one that's called heart breath, heart coherence breath, and if you want, I have links, so just reach out. But when we inhale, we're activating our sympathetic nervous system. When we're exhaling, we're activating our parasympathetic nervous system. And for anybody who is new to these sessions, transmissions into the entire channel, whether it be on the podcast or the YouTube channel, my name's Maria. I help people with their inner growth journey, mindset, lifestyle approach to ensure that they are able to access their infinite higher human consciousness potential. These sessions as an energy healer are integrating the universal love energy, which I will be connecting to shortly. Let's remember those who are open and receptive, give your consent. You can state it aloud or in your mind. And if you're open and receptive, I'll take a moment right now so that we can keep moving forward to connect with you. So through me, the universal love energy goes into you, and it is always sent for your highest and best good. The intention is to give you the lovely universal love. And here's that part. Energy is what we're made of. And this universal love, I plan on, by the way, maybe getting into the certificate, if I can, of reconnective healing, which is different than the Reiki mastery or the distance healing specialization. And so here, as somebody who embraces all information with neutrality, I can tell you that they're all different. They're the same thing, but they have different intents. That's why they're different. And this is why, one, for those who have said, yes, I'm now connected to you, those who are open and receptive feel always the energy. And I chose universal love because I'm not trying to get people to believe in anything. It's to support your journey, to give you more comfort, to give an added sensation that will guide you. It's infinite consciousness, intelligence to me. Those who are open channels know what I'm talking about because it goes way beyond just the love at our heart. But now that I'm connected, this is to support you in the most beautiful way, and it will always be in your highest good. So you also want to remember everything that surrounds you and everyone has an impact on your life. So if you're trying and having to explain yourself over and over again in certain states and feelings, here's the time. Let's feel into the readiness for you to make choices of how to respond. So to conclude with the information bit of this session, this psychiatrist was saying how If you stay silent and are being treated a certain way, or you're not able to get your voice out, what is that behavior saying? So you're allowing somebody, for example, to walk all over you, right? He uses a very specific example where he says if somebody were to think about it, they'd be like, no, but that's not what I wanted to say. That's not what I meant. There are plenty of people that, for example, are loved ones and they don't have constant in the years communication. And I'm thinking a couple in particular that completely disregarded a lot of things, and so this is where there's chosen silence, and that was made clear in a very unique way, but that's where their message was very much, I don't care about you, even though when shared that message, they're, no, it's not that. And so people aren't really connecting what they do as a message, which is why this doctor was very great. He helps people to become mature and recognize that everything you do has a message behind it. Now, here's the thing. Some of those loved ones to this day are very much completely present, and their behavior is the same. There's something more for the person who is able to move beyond in neutrality with all people, and that is where you, the functional adult, are also able to know that everybody has their own way of behaving. And so you're not connecting a message. You know that that's a pattern. And I've got a couple people that even before we began engaging consistently made it very clear, this is how I don't communicate. And so that there's a potential of complete lack of communication. And here's the difference: when you are an empowered person, you know yourself, you accept yourself, you present in the forefront very simple things about you so that people may know what to expect in those types of communication. So again, it needs only that you realize you are existing, you have ways you behave, and they're, the average. If you don't communicate them explicitly, people will assume what they would want, and so your message may be misunderstood. And if there's misunderstandings, as always, not everybody's going to want to clear them up. You guys know this. But this is where the part of the emotions is for you to tend to. The part of what others do is not for you to assume unless you want to stay in that type of narrative. You can do you. So back to the last example, the judgment. One of the psychiatrists presented this technique that is by Marshall Rosenberg. It's Marshall Rosenberg's approach to communication, nonviolent communication. It's a program that works well for people who are conflict avoidant or conflict prone. And there's a 4th step, which is funny because I've done this my entire life, basically, is what I realized. So these psychiatrists are talking about things. I'm like, oh, I do that, and then the way we get to talk about it on the podcasts. So the way that this program works is that you voice what it is that you feel, and the need underneath is that the core of obviously what you're feeling. So first of all, you observe what is bothering you. Then you name the feeling. Right here, when we're naming it, we're going from our amygdala limbic system, where you would be reactive, to your prefrontal cortex, where you're going to be the executive decision maker. But it's only if you sit in that feeling. So you focus on your need. Here's where you're not judging the external. And that's what creates compassion. And also you are centered in a ventral state, because you are now looking at your own needs versus focused on this feeling and outside of you. And so the focus on your needs and not what's wrong with the situation, this is where judgment doesn't serve anything except for keeping you in karmic cycles. For those who are regular listeners, again, we'll get to that in an in-depth episode in a couple weeks, I think it is. So step 4 is you make specific requests based on what you've observed, felt, and you need. So you're not reacting with the feeling. You can say, okay, can X, Y, and Z. But there is the need for you to move from that temporal junction to the prefrontal cortex. So if you're judging and sarcastic or angry, you haven't actually gotten to what you need. So tending to your own ego self's emotional needs, one, and then through this observation, what would I like to take place, and not judging the others or the situation. You're making your needs present in words as an adult. And the more you do this, the more you will be able to be in compassion. But that's if you're, again, allowing yourself to focus on what you want to be done and not on judging the situation, not on hypotheticals. You're disengaged from these narratives of this person's doing this for that, blah, 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 blah. Or, oh my God, the scenario, you're playing out scenarios that haven't happened yet. That's what keeps you in an energy that is hyper or hypo, depending on you. Focusing on your need allows you to stay centered in your heart, and working through the emotions allows you to stay calm because you're actually tending to them. Lack of judgment allows you to stay neutral. And with the prefrontal cortex is where we're evaluating, okay, what are my options? And so here it's not done, because obviously if you present, and when you present the specific request, so in this case, feeling ready, maybe you present the amount of money you want for a raise, or a person you wanted to have a conversation. You're going to present and initiate this conversation to get it over with, right? So you just go. Now you may get that rejection or that feedback. What they really said is not rejection, but where there's objection. Okay, and here this same program teaches to be listening without judging. So it's bidirectional. You listen attentively to what the person speaks to you. Non-verbal and verbal cues, because tone always tells you stuff. It's amazing how many people you talk to that don't hear their tone, and they will sometimes take it not the right way when I've said, but you're not telling me something's off here, because they don't hear it. And really, here's that part of vulnerability. So you being able to listen without judging, and again, you do the same thing. You observe what's being spoken to you, how it's being spoken to you, then you feel into your feelings, you refocus on your needs, and you make again another request, specific. Now here's the part, it's beautiful, because as you lack the judgment, finally you'll be the one who can be the best mediator and bring harmony to that situation. So if it's a household environment, you bring a harmonious environment. The removing of expectation from the external has already been taken care of, since you're the one who's tending to the emotions of your self-ego. You're focused on the needs, and you're allowing yourself to accept that behavior, not as a message that you need to judge or think about, but as the person and or people that you're interacting with. So it can always be, in many ways, shapes, and forms, an interaction that is a constant expansion of you from within you. The one thing before we move forward with the card, the Shaman's Dream Oracle, is people get stuck on it's unfair. Why do I do the growth and not the other? And this is ego-based in a way that is still an adaptive child. You have two options. You can be somebody who grows up and is emotionally mature and tends to your emotions and allows yourself to become in this ventral state more and more, which creates a compassion loop, a curiosity loop, because you allow yourself to move into beyond hypotheticals that are based on narratives and duality and this battleground, and you get to enjoy life. This is when people talk about law of manifestation, the law of vibration, so many different ways people are looking to make their lives better, and they're still focused on it as an outside thing. For as much as I know every spokesperson provides, because we all provide to each other's consciousness expansion, I'd say the most beautiful consciousness expansion I'm seeing is the information from the psychiatrist, neuroscientist, of breaking down to every person how their nervous system and brain works, and how their inner power is right there. And it's called breathing and talking about your feelings with yourself and working with the ego self, and then finding your support not the people you battle with that belittle you or that ridicule you. Those are your practice for being in unconditional love and neutrality for the person who achieves complete 5D self-empowerment with enlightenment. For those who choose another soul age group, then that will be different, because you will choose to stay in a specific feeling with those types of circumstances, which means staying in an adaptive child emotional response. Functional adults learn to be more and more in their ventral state, and this is where it never ends. How much? It's not because you need to be a guru or not a guru. This is the part. You're a human being who's learning to work with your body, your nervous system, and your brain, and to be a person who can have a confrontation and recognize if you're getting anxious, and in that moment, snap. You get to work with it, and not because you're focused on what the other person is doing, or not because you're actually focused on where it matters. And you're breathing and calming and knowing, I'm not in a physical life threat. I don't need to be in my defensive state. This is simply awkward or uncomfortable because emotions are involved. And yes, we feel each other's emotions, but here's that part. When you are that quote-unquote master of the body, heart, and mind of you, which is only going to happen if you're looking at what you're feeling, the sensations, and working with that. And the first part is our lovely nervous system. So calming your mind, heart, and body in a minute is about breathing and then knowing you're having a feeling. Are you going to react, or are you going to acknowledge what you're wanting from the situation and listen attentively to what that other person is doing? The behavior and message is ideal for those of you who do things and you really don't want to behave that way. So this might help you to think about how whatever you say or not say, whatever actions you take or don't take, are giving a message. So don't focus necessarily on the feeling, but focus on what you're saying when you allow somebody to speak to you again a certain way, or when you allow something that you really want to get away because you don't have the idea of rejection is very scary. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying what matters most. Do you want to live your entire life thinking of that one thing you never did? And obviously this is again with respect to others, so something not dangerous, not something that is calling to you. If it's a person, if it's a job, something that really means that much to you, okay? And on that note, let's take a look at the Shaman's Dream Oracle, because in front of you, as you can see, we have this lovely sky bridge possibility for union. Number 47, which is 11, which for the spirituality community, 11, it's the opening portal of, I forget how they specifically talk about it, but 1-1. So, sky bridge, possibility for union, what needs to be connected or disconnected. You stand before a seemingly unbreachable abyss, and there is no possibility of retreat. So this is, by the way, the Shaman's Dream Oracle. There's a link in the YouTube video. It's Alberto Villoldo and Colette Baron Reed. The path behind you is no longer a viable option. You have to act soon, though, or you run the risk of being stuck at the edge of the cliff. So here's the thing. We're never stuck in life, by the way. As long as you're alive, you can do something, right? You can work with yourself. You can take that leap of faith. You can make that phone call, or apply for that job, or take a plane and do some crazy stuff. It's always, there's always time. Life has brought you to this moment to offer you as yet undreamt of possibilities, but you must no longer postpone what you know to be inevitable. So again, there's nothing inevitable. There's no missing out. A person who can achieve this state within your own body. So feeling ready is very important, that you take a look at when you're not and why you're not, and work with the fear, because that's the nervous system in the lack of predictability. It's defending you. So to be your best partner is to allow yourself to take a look at what those emotions are saying and to tend to the needs first. And then you can make your specific request as an adult, because now you are confident. Now you're at ease. Your actual body is at ease, which is what makes you confident. There's not the agitated energy. Now, if you don't have that time, it's okay. Even here, the psychiatrists are saying it's not like the first time you say, I'm going to do this, it's going to work out. You need to bring it forth, practice, and we all will always feel the other person and or people's vibe too. So it's practicing to be in neutrality with your nervous system and your emotions, and then when you're picking up, because if somebody's in shame or guilt or other feelings, even pride, you're going to sense that. I can always sense when there's an ego that I'm talking to that is in competition, resentful, spitefulness. They come out very clear, each one of them. Or if it's just a habit of being in a charged state, or if it's just in a habit of being in an apathetic state. It's like hearing sounds. To me, it's the same thing. My body is aware immediately of what I'm perceiving on the other end. And on this end, though, there's that universal love, that neutrality. And so it's trying to say, oh, cool, here, I'm okay with this. It's not judging good or bad, because a feeling isn't good or bad. This is an expression of the person. And if they're feeling agitated, there's a reason. The psychiatrists explain why. We don't actually work with our feelings a lot. We're not brought to describe, be aware, and then calm ourselves. So calming is simply, it's okay, it's all good. The breathing and allowing you to let your body know we're simply very excited or anxious, and again, naming it, but then moving beyond it. That's why it's you're choosing to allow yourself to get to know what it feels like to be in that abyss, sadness, scare, unknown, to ask someone out, to say, hey, can we talk, to ask the boss for the raise, or to quit, or to pick up and leave, or to, have, I'm breaking up with you, because people will always say, I've never broken up. It's always been the opposite. But I remember people saying, it's not easier. And I'm like, yeah, it's not a competition. Both people get hurt. I'm still very much in contact with people. For example, see, for me, that part of how people just cut connections never made sense, really. But side note. So life has brought you to this moment, continuing to read from the booklet here. And yes, you are allowed to breathe. You are allowed a breath or two, before the leap. So take a bit of time to yourself, get away for a day or two of contemplation, or even for just a few minutes walk to clear your head and muster courage so that you may cross the sky bridge. The sky bridge appears when the moment is absolutely right for a quantum leap. Life believes you are ready, even if you do not agree. Remember not to confuse your true state of readiness with your plans and preparation. Respond with a determined yes and let the universe take care of the details. You need only hold on to your positive affirmation, and the way will become obvious as you take flight and clear the abyss. So here's the thing for my lovely listeners and viewers. Self-empowerment is about you taking the lead always. Not the universe. It's not surrendering. This is the part. It's actual participation in every single one of those lovely states of consciousness that you're the one who manifests your life. And it's through this feeling of empowerment in this unknown that I want to walk us through this bridge, this taking that leap of faith. I want you to feel unready for something that you are actually ready for. Okay, something important. It can be a person, it can be a job, it can be a trip, it can be, I know people that are afraid of flying. Whatever it is that you can think of, I want you to just focus for a minute on this feeling of readiness for this next step. So life presents us every day something new that we can do. There is no need for a list of anything way beyond or not beyond. It can be the tiniest thing, because what we're really learning to do is to get comfortable in our own skin. In your skin, not mine. So let's breathe. Clear your head, because we didn't get to do that. Now relax your body for me. Relax, smile, and let's just pretend whatever this scenario is, interaction, again, calling a person, talking through something, breaking up, uh, getting that job, getting the raise, leaving the raise, something that you're really, really ready right now. It's like, it's here, I want to do it, or I'm scared to do it, okay? Or I'm excited to do it. There's all these different types. Or if there's anybody who's tuning in who there's something that's very sad, very deep, okay? Very deep, and you just want to move beyond that moment. So it's a depth that is keeping you in a space that you really are ready to move beyond, whatever that is. Let us feel into this feeling. Now, pay attention, if you want, to where it is in your body. That way you start getting to learn those spots for yourself. One of the psychiatrists gave the example of one of his patients where he felt anger in the chest, I think. Personally, I don't know about anger, but sadness, I know it's at the heart, right? That crushing feeling, as if those elephants step on you. I know most people that I've talked to have had that feeling at least once in their lifetime. And guess what? That's part of our lovely mammalian heritage and the way the brain is developed. They talked about this in an infographic that I've read to, but I don't want to get us distracted right now. So let's focus not on the feeling in a way of keeping it charged, identifying it, naming it. So name it for yourself. And also take note of the readiness, because obviously, again, you're feeling, I'm ready to take this leap of faith. I'm ready to do something to be out of this. That's what I want you to start looking at. Where does that one feel in? Where is that coming? Like for me, it feels expansive. It feels much like the love of life, and just excited and ready and free. Okay, so bring the two. Don't criticize the abyss, the sadness, the fear. That's your body defending you. I want you to think, is there any threat right now in front of you? Do you have a lion chasing you? Or is it the anticipation of something, right? Of the unknown, of what's the person going to say? Are they going to accept? Are they going to reject? What's the boss going to say? Am I going to make it and get that plane? Not, whatever it is that's in the unknown. That's what's creating the fear state, right? The unknown. So you feel ready. There's the unknown. And here's the part, as a person who's a perfectionist and a planner, and even though people will laugh when I say this, because I'm definitely in the flow of life, but I have things I always routinely do because they work for me. They give me sense of ease. And that's what's important. You working with your sense of ease and smiling and chuckling at those vices that we all have, because we all have them. They point them out by our loved ones, aren't they? So taking a minute to identify how you feel at ease, and that there's never going to be the perfect time. This is that part. What there is whenever you are actually ready. Are you excited enough to go through with it or not? And if you're not, that's okay. If you're not, here, let's work with the mind. If you are, then the mind knows you need to just do it. You just need to do it. Otherwise, this is always going to stay, the readiness and the anxiety. And I'll give you a silly example, but one of my recent trips, I actually ended up throwing up before leaving. And although everybody that was around me gave their input, I knew exactly why. I was anticipating this trip in a certain way for certain reasons that I'm not going to describe. So my body had been in a state of hyper-aroused anxiety for about a week, and it was finally able to release because everything was going according to plan. Now, some of you would say, oh, you talk about, your growth and calming, and here's that part. Our body is always going to have the nervous system. So that lack of predictability, all of us have a way that our body is going to prepare us. This is where I'm not my worst critic. I love who I am, how I am, and I'm my biggest cheerleader. And so I know that that's how I would have felt, because that's just who I am. I'm a planner, and I'm okay with that. even if the unknown will always be a part of that. Planning helps me to prepare for at least 90% of stuff. Other people, they surrender. And here's the thing, they have a specific way that they're connected to their life. In the creator, when you're creating your life, when you're always conscious and participating with your free will, with your day-to-day, this is where today's today, tomorrow I don't know. So I'll do the best to live the best day. You just are participating out of joy. It has nothing to do with not trusting in life. You don't have an entity that you trust into or not into, this part. So again, for those who are ready, you need to take action, and nothing's gonna change that. So it's a culmination, right? It's a build up of emotion until you do it, and then in fact, once it's done, that's where it'll be done. You'll feel a release in your body. The psychiatrists, again, they present how it's not always, or it's never going to be comfortable to have confrontation. So anytime we're trying to feel ready for something, that's an actual confrontation, even though it may not be, again, a face-to-face, but it's you in a situation that's important to you. For those who, for a minute, are not ready, okay, I want to hone in here, and then I will disconnect and let you guys move on with your day. Please, 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 don't push it. Don't push it means work with the fear. So right now, I want you to take a look at the elements that are keeping you here. Is it shame? Is it guilt? Is it resentment? Is it feeling that you owe something to someone? Is it feeling unworthy? You're not worthy of that raise, or you don't want to say no. You don't want to say, I don't want you in my life anymore, you know, because this is where that breakup thing, very important to acknowledge for real when you're severing relationships. I don't believe in severing because I love all the people in my life and I believe in becoming the adult of the situation. But there are those who instead don't, you know, so they choose to cut completely. And here's where it's a personal choice. This is where stay with what fits for you. What I'm trying to share is acknowledge the emotion, acknowledge what it's representing. And that's, what are you for your ego self? What's the deal here? Bring peace to you in a way that allows you to take the action that is feeling you're ready for, that you feel freed with. So if that means cutting people out, then that is. You're always going to know it's right for you because it'll feel loving, not resentful, not angry, not spiteful, not hurtful. It feels expansive. Your body feels free. It's like, that's that moment. So feeling ready, doing it, and then, oh my gosh, I'm so uplifted right now. I finally did this thing. I recently did something that I felt that too. It's like, okay, finally, it's cleared. That feeling, it doesn't involve any act towards another. It's a choice. You being able to say, yeah, that's where I stand. This is a good thing for me. I feel good about it. When it comes to people that are no longer helping you to grow, it's important for you to create space for yourself and to have those types of conversations. Again, for some are challenging, most will have challenges as the psychiatrists present if you allow yourself to use this technique I shared with you. So observe, name your feeling, and then focus on your needs, and then decide your specific request. Know that there can be that counter interaction, and you want to listen, and then you'll go again. And this is where you guys have the exercise ready. So once we're done, you can keep on exploring your thoughts and allowing yourself to navigate to the next best sweet spot. And once you're ready, you can take that action in a kind way. But I want to keep on giving you an example, a couple of examples. So one, I've had a discussion in the past that the regular listeners know about where there was an actual confrontation. We were on this different ends, and it concluded where, because this friend pushed so much, I said to her, we are incompatible. I cannot match and meet your needs. And I meant it with all the love in my heart. In fact, we concluded this with a love. We engage superficially in the sense that we used to share a lot of more in-depth experiences. Now we share celebratory moments, so we both support each other's endeavors and all of that stuff, but we don't have constant life day to day and really just conversations about what's going on in our life. Okay, so here's that part where our friendship continues. We both agreed to disagree together in an actual confrontation. They spelled out what they thought it was, I spelled out what I thought it was, and we were able to be adults about it. I've had other interactions where that's not the case. And so unfortunately, no matter how much I personally tried to meet and understand how to match, right? I didn't match or respect. So the end of the day, the others decided to cut. So again, people choose these things. Now, for me on this end, there's making peace of that, because on my end, that's where it's not loving, right? Cutting somebody out. It means that the message is you're nothing, okay? And so when you care and you're nothing, that's rejection right there. That's also somebody you love and or people that you love basically telling you they don't love you back. So let's remember these aspects. And the part about when Sadhguru, that lovely quote, love doesn't mean, for most people, love means do what I want you to do. But love doesn't mean that. Love is you do what you want to do, and I love you anyways. And here is that part of what true pure love is. Pure love, unconditional love. This is the 5D state of consciousness and beyond. It's unbounded and it's unconditional. So to this day, those people that they made their choice, it's their preference. It's their relationship with me, not mine with them. So to me, there's always that love and that friendship and that bond. And there's an acceptance of the choice of behavior and action, because that's their preference, that's their style, that's theirs. Whenever you can get to this space with your stuff, your vices and virtues, but also extend that, this is where you're going to have a lot more readiness for any type of confrontation, and the awkwardness you learn as you go. Because again, the feelings are always going to be there, and there's always going to be a way that you would prefer with your interactions with life. That's the difference when you're not surrendering and you're participating. And so paying attention to the ventral state, guys. You're learning to stay in your body, in the heart and the mind as you're interacting. It doesn't mean you're having all these contemplations. You get into the habit of accepting a person's behavior so that their message is their message, and not judging it, but listening. You're not afraid. You're not in an ego that's insecure. You're a self-regulated ego self. You're a functional adult who has emotions and knows that when you're going to interact with life, anytime you will feel ready or unready, that there's stuff to take note of first. Before we go, last story. I went, it was when you throw yourself out of the plane with the parachute. I always forget if it's parasailing or the other one. But anyways, the instructor told me how there were people that actually they jump and they poop their pants. And when he told me that, I felt bad for him and the people. But I remember immediately knowing, wow, they actually talked themselves into doing this thing without even being aware that they really weren't ready for it. And here's where, with my massage therapist friend, who we always have these lovely conversations, she shared, most people don't really pay, or it's not they don't pay, they don't know about their body. And here, the psychoeducation, when they were explaining how a child will adapt their behavior to ensure the person doesn't get angry outside, the adults, they begin to not be attentive to their own emotions. They don't even know what they feel. All of us have had a family, and we were all children. And so it's not about the household needing to look too scary, okay? All it is a specific level of discipline that made us more aware of what the outside world wanted than what our inner world was feeling. And your lack of awareness is simple that. Now that you've been through this session, anybody who's new, you can start paying attention to your feelings, to the sensations of your body and the emotions, and having inner growth conversations so that you can gain familiarity and bring yourself to ventral state, to sense of ease with your emotions, all of them, because you're working with your needs. So you're not looking outside. You're saying, wait, this is what I feel. This is why I'm scared. This is that. Okay, what do I want to do? You're making the specific requests to yourself, first of all, and you're finding ways to do it in the outside world. So you're finding first inner harmony, mind and heart, and bringing the body to that sense of ease, to the ventral state. And you're just deciding and choosing, here's what I can try to do. And then you're going to be ready, if anything. You know that there might be the, no, I don't want to talk. No, I don't like what you're saying. No, I don't, and you'll allow yourself to listen, not judge. And as you're listening, to be in a space of neutrality for your needs and the needs that are being presented to you. And just know it's practice. To feel ready is practice, and we won't always be ready for everything, because unknown is always part of that lovely day-to-day. Tomorrow's unknown. So our nervous system knows of the lack of predictability. I am very hopeful that this is supporting you. And so let's focus in on that feeling ready right now for whatever it was, the item that you decided you want to take that leap of faith, okay? You want to move past it now. I'm sharing with you the biggest smile, love, and hug. And just letting you know you've got this. Do it. Do the good things, right? in loving ways. Whatever it is, let's try to make it the most loving possible and most joyous possible. But don't be scared. Life is life. And when it comes to people, it's always going to be, a conversation or an interaction with the jobs and situations. It is what it is. Sometimes it'll go the way you want it. Sometimes it won't. But you have today, and you can take action and do something again tomorrow. So there's always more that can come. You're not a movie. You're living your life as long as you're living it. And there's always a way for you to take action that is beneficial for your life and others. Just take it step by step. Take a breath and smile, and know that you've got a community out here, your support system, and us, and that's about it for today's transmission. I'm now disconnected from you, and we've taken those minutes to hone in on feeling ready. So I look forward to hearing about your experiences, and let me know if there's any specific transmission sessions that you'd like, universal love energy. I am also having private ones, so if you want one just for you, there's the landing page. This, but you can always reach out to ask for information. But if you want to make a request for public one, that's fine too. I'm always happy to hear from you guys. So have a wonderful day, everyone.